Boris Johnson has tried to hit the reset button with a flurry of new appointments in Downing Street over the weekend. Some of the guys started work only yesterday, but there were also claims surrounding the Prime Minister's wife, Carrie, and her influence on his decisions. And reports today suggest the Treasury blocked a multi-billion-pound plan to tackle the NHS backlog. Well, we're joined now by the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid. Very good morning to you.
Morning.
The whole idea is to move on from what's been happening, but the report in the Daily Telegraph, and of course Robert Peston, our political editor as well, this multi-billion-pound plan, the whole point is to get that backlog cleared, to enable vital treatment to people for whom it's been delayed because of lockdown. Is this true?
Well, what is true is that the elective recovery plan has been delayed, but because of Omicron. The plan was originally to publish it in early December, but as you will remember, that's around then when we really started worrying about Omicron and concerned before the increase in the booster program, and that became the focus of the NHS. During that time, of course, that's what the NHS has been focused on, but we've been working with our friends in the NHS and across government to develop this plan, and it will be published shortly. But one of the things that I wanted to announce today is one aspect of that plan that I think...
Before we come on to that, we will come on to that, but let's just hang on a second. You'll know that one of the accusations in the papers, including the Daily Telegraph this morning, is that the reason that the Treasury has blocked this spending announcement is basically to give Boris Johnson a hard time. It's Rishi Sunak basically stealing the Prime Minister's thunder and stopping him moving on. What would you say to that allegation?
I mean, I have to say, I don't recognise that at all. And I'll tell you why, because the Treasury has been a fantastic partner for my department throughout this pandemic, but especially over the last few months as we've been putting together this elective recovery plan. And I can just tell you from my own experience, having had the role as Chancellor as well, having the Treasury working with you day in, day out to deliver for any department is crucial, but especially right now for my department. I could not have a better partner.
Is there an issue, however, between the Chancellor and the Prime Minister? We heard the press conference last week where Rishi Sunak was asked about the comments that Boris Johnson made about Sir Keir Starmer over the Jimmy Savile prosecutions. And Rishi Sunak said, honestly, I would not have said that.
Look, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are working together. They're getting on with the job. I mean, you talk about last week. What I really noticed last week was this huge plan for levelling up that was published by the government, but involving every department, of course, including the Treasury and the Downing Street operation, and everyone across government working together, including the commitment in that plan from my own department about levelling up in terms of the health inequalities that exist in the country.
Which the opposition have pointed out doesn't include any new money. My question was, is there an issue between the Chancellor and the Prime Minister at the top of government at the moment?
As I see every day, they are working together as our cabinet ministers across government focused on delivery. And, I've mentioned the levelling up plan. Today we're talking about electives.
Javid, people will notice that you haven't simply said no. There is no issue.
I've said I just told you I don't recognise that. That means no. I don't see that as an issue at all. So the answer is no. And in fact, to the contrary, what I see is the Prime Minister and the Chancellor working incredibly well together, delivering for the British people.
Well, do you have an issue with the Prime Minister? Because Susanna mentions a statement that was made by the Chancellor last week, which looked like a pretty clear, open critique of the Prime Minister. And it's our job, and it's journalists' job, to decode things that people like you say. And what you said about the Jimmy Savile remark last week, you started by paying a glowing tribute to Sir Keir Starmer when he was DPP. I sort of wonder why you felt you had to say that. And then you said that you were glad the Prime Minister had clarified his remarks. Now, a lot of people took that as coded criticism. Was it?
Well, I mean, first of all, I, like every other member of the Cabinet, I'm 100% behind this Prime Minister that is delivering on his promises. Remember, this is the Prime Minister that saved this country from Corbynism, has delivered Brexit, has delivered the biggest vaccine programme in Europe, and is levelling up across the country. He's getting on with the job.
So why did you go out of your way to praise Keir Starmer when he was DPP? I mean, that sounds to me like a coded critique of the PM.
When it comes to that particular issue that you've just raised, the Prime Minister made some remarks in Parliament. Importantly, I think just a couple of days later, he then clarified his remarks, and that was important. And as far as I'm concerned, that's drawn a line under the issue.
But
so
why did you praise? But why did you praise
to make those? Sorry, Richard.
Sorry, go on.
Just to establish, you believe he was wrong to make those remarks in Parliament, just as Rishi Sunak said he would not have said that.
The Prime Minister clarified those remarks, and so I think it was a sensitive issue. I understand that, and it was important to make sure people weren't misunderstanding what was meant or not meant. And the Prime Minister then came forward and clarified those remarks, and that's all there is to it. I mean, other than that, this issue, as far as I'm concerned, is over.
But it was an own goal, wasn't it?
We need to focus on getting on with the job.
But it was an own goal, wasn't it?
Well, it was a clarification by the Prime Minister. I think he was right to do that.
After the own goal.
It was a clarification
after the own goal.
Well, look, you can carry on about this, but I think the issue has been, there's a line drawn under it, and we should move on to what I think are the bigger issues. We were just a moment ago talking about this elective backlog in the NHS, and I would like to come on to today's announcement, if I may, because it might be of interest to your viewers.
Yes, do.
Please. So one of the things that we'll be introducing later this month, the NHS will be doing, is a new online portal that's called My Planned Care. And what it will allow is for everyone on the elective waiting list, they will be able to see where they are on the waiting list, what is the average time of that procedure for their local NHS trust, and also how can they get prepared for when their turn comes for that procedure, be better prepared. The importance of the preparation point is that the NHS has said that they think about 1/3 of on-the-day cancellations for procedures are because the patient wasn't properly prepared. So this is about giving more information, more transparency to a patient than ever before, and also to understand that it can be very anxious and very stressful if they don't know when they're going to get their treatment.
But our programme doctor, who's working in the field, told us a couple of hours ago on the programme that basically patients have got the right to do that already. You're simply kind of re-announcing old news.
It's not about the right. The right has always been there. What there's been a real lack of is information, and you will find a real variation across trusts in the country. And so now what's happening for the first time, it will be an online portal at nhs.uk. Every single person in England on the waiting list will be able to access that personal information and get that information in a way that doesn't exist at the moment. And eventually we will transfer that to the NHS app, so they'll be able to get it on their fingertips or on their smartphone.
So I think the idea behind this is that if the waiting list in your own local service is too long, you can choose where to go to an area for your surgery where the waiting list is much shorter. But of course what you're doing is you're telling people with transport that they can skip the queue at their local hospital. People without those resources won't be able to benefit from that information, will they?
Well, not really, because the idea behind this is to make sure that every patient has maximum information about their wait and their procedure. And what you tend to find is that most people, they choose to stay local. In fact, most people, even if you offer them a procedure that they might have to travel a bit for, and you offer to cover all their costs and accommodation costs and all that, most people still decide to stay local, and that's understandable. But what they are most anxious about and get very stressed about, perfectly understandably, is knowing when their time is going to come. How can they best prepare for that? So this is really about providing that information. By the way, when it does, you did raise a very important point, though, which is about patient choice. One of the things that we are working on is to have even greater patient choice. And that's obviously within the NHS, but in certain circumstances, I think we should be looking to provide more choice where someone can elect to go to the independent sector paid fully by the NHS as well, to give them maximum choice. And that's something we're working on.
Sajid Javid, we have to end it there. I would have loved to have asked you what you think about the appointment of the Director of Communications, Guto Hari, who's only taken 6 months furlough from his existing job. So one does wonder about the commitment of some of the new members of the team, but we'll leave that for the next time you come on.
Thank you very much for having me.
OK, thanks for being here.